All right, so Grant, introduce us, give us your title. You're here with us from the Boston Business Journal to talk Market Basket.
That's right. So I'm the Boston Business Journal's real estate reporter, but I have previously covered Market Basket back at my time at the Lowell Sun, including 2013 and 14. And so anytime Market Basket's back in the news, everything else kind of gets pushed a little bit to the side to make time
Yes,
for Market Basket. So that's
and
what this
understandably,
is.
because that's also how a lot of our viewers feel too. Anytime that we run something about Market Basket, we have got our viewers' full attention.
I bet.
So now it's been almost about 2 weeks now since Arthur Demoulas' suspension. Has there been any movement toward actually resolving the situation that you can tell us about?
None that I've heard of. We do know that the board of directors is investigating Arthur T for what they believe to be allegations that he was involved in planning a work stoppage. If they carry that through, that's believed to take a little bit of time. So it's a little bit of a quiet period, a little bit of a just waiting to see if that where that goes, or if Arthur T is restored as CEO, or if they go in the other direction, maybe he's fired. But there's no talk of that at this stage.
Gotcha. Okay. So now we know one of the reasons that Market Basket is beloved is because it is a family business. How does that affect this whole situation?
Well, it is, yes, it is a family business, and that it's not just the Demoulas family, although people feel like they'll use Market Basket and Demoulas interchangeably. Like, I'm going to go grocery shopping at Demoulas. Do you need anything? And so that's gotten them really far. It's made them into a nearly $8 billion business. But in this case, they're also experiencing the drawback of being a family business. This is essentially infighting between Arthur T. Demoulas, the CEO, and his three sisters, who are the other major shareholders, and the directors who are representing those sisters. And this is all surrounding what the fourth generation of the Demoulas family may look like when it comes to Market Basket. Arthur T is the third generation. His grandparents founded the business in 1917 in Lowell. Arthur T wants two of his children in the succession plan for the company, but his children are not the only ones who are working there who would represent the fourth generation. A lot of this comes down to what does that next generation look like? And is it a case where it could be a Demoulas, or is it a situation where maybe Market Basket actually needs to look outside the family for that next leader?
And I think it's really important that you break it down in this way and point it out because even the situation that they're dealing with, you have families every day that can relate to this kind of situation, maybe on a smaller scale, but families hear this and understand what this challenge looks like, what it looks like to deal with this kind of challenge every day.
Right. Any family business expert that I've talked to, especially when it comes to Market Basket, will say how much more difficult it is to make these really difficult decisions. And if you're talking about succession planning with a family business, it happens so seldomly. If you're going from one generation to the next, even a company like Market Basket has only done it a couple of times. And it can be fraught. It's difficult enough for a CEO to deal with the board of directors in terms of uh, who is in charge of what. Do you seek the board's guidance on something? Do you do it unilaterally? Uh, do you have a board vote that will help dictate the direction of the company? That's something that Arthur T has struggled with in the past. In particular, it was struggles when it was his similarly named cousin, his rival Arthur S. Demoulas. If people need a helper on how to keep them apart, you can think of Arthur T as with the team, is what he represents. Arthur S is more with the shareholders, is who he was fighting for. Um, Now it's different. And it's even Arthur T's three sisters who are fighting with him over the direction of the company. That is something that a lot of people can relate to, whether they're in a family business or not. You just think of
Mhm.
you may get along very well with your siblings, but when you disagree, it can be particularly tough because you do have so much history together.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of people remember the last time Demoulas was nearly pushed out. We saw a huge outcry from workers and from shoppers. It doesn't feel like we've had the same level of outcry and outrage this time, at least for now. So tell us your thoughts on maybe why the response has been different this time around.
So far, it is definitely different. If you go back to 2013, 2014 is when it was really in the news, but in 2013, there was a change of majority control on the board of directors. So even at that point, just the thought, the fear that Arthur T may be fired, there were rallies outside every board of directors meetings, outside a lot of Market Basket's stores and elsewhere. In this case, at least yet we there's no talk, at least wide scale talk of a walkout or a boycott that's in the works. It may take a little bit of time to sort out where this is heading. That was the case even in 2014 after Arthur T was fired. It was several weeks until we saw huge rallies. Notably, it doesn't feel like an existential crisis for Market Basket now as it did then. At that time, people were worried about whether Market Basket might be sold to a competitor or to private equity, or ultimately whether it could even survive what was a 6 week long boycott. And in this case, it's more of infighting between the family, and not that it doesn't have broader stakes. And these disagreements are common. It's just usually that they aren't so public, and they don't
Hmm.
usually lead to the type of public response that we've seen with Market Basket. And I will just say too that from 2014 till now, at least some of the customers that I've talked to, they feel like they wish this was something that the family could settle amongst themselves and sort of carry on the business as it has been, as they love it. Whereas last time it was more a sense of how could these other family members and those who are affiliated with them have such greed that they want to ruin Market Basket as we see it and make it so completely different. That is less a factor in this case, at least so far.
And speaking of public response, okay, Boston is my fourth city. I'm from Chicago. I've lived in West Palm Beach. I've lived in Savannah. I've lived in Jacksonville, went to school in Virginia. And I have never seen a brand with such loyalty. It didn't take me long after moving here and
Mhm.
visiting Market Basket to see people do not play about Market Basket or their Market Basket location. Like it is serious. What do you think inspires that strong loyalty from customers?
It's because Market Basket has for generations been all about employees and shoppers. And people think, how could Market Basket have such low prices? And it's this cycle that they've had that is almost impossible for other companies to get into, where you have such low prices that you have high volume. Anyone who shops there knows it's always busy, practically any time of day, any day of the week.
Yes.
And it's just a virtuous cycle where people feel like they walk into a Market Basket and it's stepping back in time. You have every checkout aisle is seemingly staffed with someone scanning groceries, someone bagging groceries.
Mhm.
You don't have self-scan aisles, even in 2025. You do not have that. They want a person helping a person. If you are looking for an item and you're not sure where it is and you ask an employee, they will, without exception, take you exactly to where you need to be and ask if you need anything else. They don't just say, "Oh, that's down in aisle 5," and kind of get back to what they're doing. They will have that personal attention. If you need help loading your groceries into the car, they will do that for you. It's in the DNA. That sounds so cliche, but it really is something that makes it so uncommon. If
Mhm.
people like you who weren't so familiar with Market Basket, there are some of these other retailers. Costco is one that's mentioned as being similar among other multi-billion-dollar companies. Usually, when you're talking about something like this, it's like a small mom and pop, one location or maybe a couple locations. In Market Basket's case, they've been able to keep this in play despite having more than 90 locations. It's uncanny how they've been able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. It is definitely an experience. The first time that I went, and I went with my parents, they were visiting. Everyone was so friendly, so helpful. To your point, now it was a lot going on. It felt a little overwhelming because we went during the holidays, but everyone was so helpful. The prices, I mean, they'll make you take a double look. You're like, wait a minute, and where have I been all this time? So, to your point, it's definitely an experience for shoppers for sure. Now, is there anything you want to make sure that you include, that you tell viewers that I didn't ask you specifically?
Sure, I think it's important to talk about the possibility of whether the next Market Basket CEO is not a Demoulas. That's something that I've heard in talking to family business experts is that this might be such a fraught situation of Arthur T wanting his children next in line. Maybe some of his siblings are hoping that one of their children are next in line. But at this point, it may be too difficult for a Demoulas to step in and have a consensus. And if it comes down to that, that Arthur T and his siblings feel like they could all agree that the next CEO would be an outside hire, it doesn't need to be scary as it was that prospect in 2014 that people felt like there was going to be someone who would come in and run it who don't know the market basket way and they would come in and change everything. In this case, the board could say, all right, we're going to bring in someone who is familiar with and agrees with the family's priorities. So that's family, the family as they see it, the shopper as an employee and community over profits. They don't have to come in and have that baggage that another Demoulas family member might have. And it's important to note too that I talked about the size of the family, the size of the business at this point. It's been run almost exclusively by a member of the Demoulas family, but it's now more than 90 locations, close to $8 billion in annual revenue. They might find that the company is in better hands of an experienced industry executive who has a track record of leading another grocery or another retail chain. And Market Basket could certainly attract a great candidate or a great number of candidates who know how much of a cult following the company has and feel like they can carry that into decades to come and generations to come when it comes to the Demoulas family holding on to the stock.
Well, Grant, it will definitely be interesting to see what ultimately ends up happening. And it's great that we are partnering with you because we know the Boston Business Journal will stay on top of it for our viewers. So we are looking forward to an update here somewhere along the line.
I will be glad to be a part of it.
Grant Welker with the Boston Business Journal. Thank you so much.
Of course, thanks for having me.